Hello again. As you may be well aware by now, President Cyril Ramaphosa has deployed members of the SANDF to some power stations across the country following reports of sabotage to infrastructure. The power stations are Majuba, Camden, Grootvlei and Tutuka. We're now joined by Pikkie. He speaks for the South African Defence Union. Pikkie, thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. We understand there was an intelligence report that actually supported the deployment of all of this or necessitated it. What do you know about what the report says about the extent of the damage to infrastructure and sabotage?
Well, look, Sandu has no knowledge of what's contained in this report that you're referring to. What we're simply saying is one should put two and two together. It's all of a sudden that the soldiers are being deployed, and it just happens to coincide with these political, if you want, turmoil that's going on at the conference and in the country in general, and together with the resignation of the CEO. So certainly something is amiss. Otherwise, this drastic step of deploying the Defence Force would not have taken place. We believe it is probably based on real-time intelligence threats.
So essentially what I'm hearing, that you suspect that what is happening at the ANC's conference is the reason why the army would be deployed, and there's actually no intelligence that indeed there is sabotage happening here.
No, what I'm saying is that while this conference is on and suddenly the Defence Force is being deployed, one would probably be safe in coming to the conclusion that there must be some kind of intelligence reports coming through or intelligence coming through which made the government to go to this drastic step of deploying the Defence Force.
What did your members or some of your members tell you about this deployment? We understand that a minimum of 10 soldiers will be deployed in the initial phase of each station, suggesting this could be a long game.
It is a suggestion that if it's initial stage, it could be a long game. What we know at this stage is what was released into the media by the state itself, by the presidential spokesperson, which is 10 soldiers per power station, which doesn't seem quite a big deployment at all. That would probably be for things like access control and perimeter patrolling. If you look at that number of soldiers, I do believe that we have reason to believe in this country, if you take it right back from the unrests in July of last year, that there are forces in this country that would go to the lows of trying to sabotage the economy of this country, and that we can see the seriousness with which this is taken by deploying the Defence Force.
So while you question the timing of it, you definitely not questioning that a threat is real?
We're not questioning the threat is real, also not threatening the timing, rather pointing out that the timing is significant.
Okay. Talk us through perhaps what happens when soldiers are deployed, right? Because when you get news as an ordinary South African that soldiers have been deployed to power stations at Eskom, it takes the stress levels right up there. And so do soldiers have a say as to where they're deployed and why?
No, not at all. Soldiers get their orders as to the area of deployment and they get taken there. Of course, they get their orders on what they're supposed to do once they're in their area of deployment. And basically, that's what soldiers are there for. But we must also be very careful not to normalize the deployment of the Defence Force in cases like these. This is still, and we maintain as a union, it remains the job of the SAPs and the crime intelligence services and state security agent services to combat plans for sabotage or any conspiracy in that regard, and to safeguard those buildings. It should never be normalized that the Defence Force is deployed in assisting the police.
Pikkie, I do wonder if you've had a moment to formulate an opinion. According to the Sunday Times, they lead with a headline, "Director probed for irregularity at Eskom," and it notes that before his resignation as CEO of the power utility, he was being investigated by the utilities new board for alleged procurement irregularities, and apparently he's the second high-ranking official to resign. The first one, according to the paper, was uncomfortable with the kind of questions that were being probed. We are also made to believe or to understand that the sabotage at Eskom is also by people who are working for Eskom. So in trying to understand the deployment of soldiers and understanding this piece of information and what we do know about what we've been told about the instigators or the people responsible, some of them, for this sabotage, I do wonder if you've formulated an opinion or you have a thought on it at all.
You mean on the fact that the ex-CEO is being investigated?
Indeed.
Yes, no, look, Sandra has no view on that. I think whatever probe Eskom is doing, they should do their job, and I think in the end, of course, the law should take its course. And I think that Mr. De Ruyter has the right, like every other citizen, to be viewed as not guilty until proven guilty of some kind of wrongdoing.
Thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. Pikkie, spokesperson for the South African Defence Union.